I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me.
Welcome, boxing fans, to another installment of Corner to Corner Boxing. As you can see, we have a great guest with us today. We have Carlos El Famoso Hernandez, IBF Super Featherweight Champion of the World. He brought his hardware here with him. Thank you so much for joining us today, champ.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you for having me here. It's such a pleasure, and I'm excited to be here with you guys. Thank you.
Appreciate that. So we know that you're in Texas now, huh?
Yeah, that's true. I'm in Texas. I mean, don't hate me, but yeah, Texas is pretty cool. You know, a lot of Californians are going over there. I just guess the price here is very expensive to live. It's a good place to live. You know, a good place to grow a family. Uh, I don't want to, let everybody, hey, move to Texas, but it worked for me. It worked for my family, for my kids. So that's why I'm over there. But I miss Cali. I miss this. I miss the smog a little bit. But I do. I'm from here, and I'm from LA. I used to train down the street from here, on Cesar Chavez. I used to train over here on Whittier Boulevard. So I mean, this is home to me. You know, this is where I was made, and my kids get that kind of uh, feel from me. You know, that California feel. They're always saying, "Why are you always talking about LA and all this and LA this, LA that?" And now they understand. They understand, why I'm always talking about it.
Well, it's glad to have you back, champ, and it was very difficult to figure out where to start. You've had such an illustrious career, but what I want to do is I want to start at the very top. We all know that you became the first ever Salvadorian champion, which was a great moment of pride for an entire nation.
Correct.
So I want to set the stage. It's in Las Vegas, Nevada. This was on the line. Ringside, you had the current president at the time of El Salvador, the president of El Salvador at the time. You had legends like Roberto Duran and Alexis Arguello. Talk about no pressure, right?
Yeah, I know.
It was your third crack at the title.
Correct.
Tell us about that moment.
It was like that do or die kind of situation. I felt like I was not gonna be denied. I worked so hard. I fought the best in the world. The best. Chicanito was the best. He gave me the opportunity because we're compadres and all that. And he said, if I got to lose my title, I want to lose it to you. You know. And fortunately, I didn't win. But it was a great lesson. Then I fight the best, supposedly of all time, and he's a good freaking fighter. I do have to admit, defensive fighter. But then I get a shot at the IBF title against David Santos, who's a good fighter. You know, he may not be a big name fighter like Morales or Pereira, but he was up there. You know, and he was right behind me, and we were right there. So we were fighting for the vacant IBF title, and thank God I was that became the winner. I was the winner for that fight.
That's awesome. So, talking about that fight, growing up in LA, I have a lot of Salvadorian friends, a lot. And right now, what I sense is that there's a renewed sense of Salvadorian pride. There's a lot of amazing things happening in El Salvador.
Yeah, it's cool to be Salvadorian.
Yeah, it is. I read a stat that now there's so much talk about crime reduction, and you can go to certain parts of El Salvador that maybe before you couldn't. I read an interesting stat that I think it's important to highlight. When you fought David Santos that day, was the lowest crime rate in the entire year of El Salvador.
Yes.
How does it feel to make such an impact on a country?
And obviously, it's touching to even think that I was able to bring the people together. It was during a time when it's like, oh, it was pretty bad with gang violence, and during the '90s, the late '90s, the early 2000s, and so when I was and I consider myself puro Salvadoreño, I mean, I grew up here, but my family, I always grew up fighting for an identity, and that was for everybody to know because everyone thought I was Mexicano, which is cool. I love Mexico, but I'm not Mexican. I'm Salvadorian, so it was really cool to represent El Salvador and to know that I was able to bring down the crime rate, man. Yeah, that's like this. I remember one time Bernard Hopkins, the great Bernard Hopkins. So the guy was like, he heard that record, that stat, and he was amazed. And he just gave me a handshake and a hug. He was like, dude, that is badass. For a person to do that to a country, it was pretty cool. So I take that and I'm like, man, I just thank God. I just thank God for giving me that. But it was a lot of work, bro. I mean, I fought here at the Forum, okay? And I fought Monday night fights. And so like on Saturday night, before the fight, at like 1 and 2 in the morning, I was over here in downtown right here by MacArthur Park at the nightclubs, letting people know I'm gonna be fighting. Please come to support me. Because I wanted my people to know that there's Salvadorian fighting. Yeah. So come, but I will have to tell you that the Mexican people are the ones that made me. Yeah. They're the ones because of their love and I guess their respect towards me. I guess towards my fighting. They were very supportive, and because of the Mexicanos here in LA, I was able to grow, and I gotta thank the Mexican public for that.
So that's a great stat that Carlos brought up, and it's a beautiful thing, especially when it's something. It's a violent sport, right? Boxing is a brutal sport, but it has the power to bring people together in a beautiful way. The only other fighter that I've heard a similar stat from is the great Manny Pacquiao. So it's just amazing how fighters like yourself, like Pacquiao, can unify entire countries to stop whatever they're doing and
Although Pacquiao, I mean, the Philippines is like 100 million people or something like that. So here in my country it's like 7 million or 6 or 7 million, and another million here. But it's still a nation. It's still a lot of pride, a lot of people that are proud to be Salvadorian, and it's like you said, the with the crime, I was able to do that. And I think if I were to fight today, something similar like that would still happen. And that because I feel like people still love me. They respect me, and I've been like the only one. Yeah. So that sucks, but it's still, thank God,
Yeah, it's an honor. And the people certainly do love you. I think a great testament of that, you shared a story of going to MacArthur Park and promoting your fight and having people support you. And now in El Salvador, there's a Palacio de Deportes named after you. Yeah. So talk about like full circle,
Now
right?
that was like probably one of the most important things in my life.
Yeah.
It's like, to me, it meant more than winning this world title. It was just that my country could honor me with naming the sports palace in my name.
Yeah.
And for my kids to see it and to live in and say, hey, my dad has a sports palace. It's pretty badass. And then I'm just grateful to God that that I was able to, bro. But it was a lot of hard work, man. It wasn't just easy. I did earn it. I think. I believe I did, bro. I would not go out. I would just train. That was my thing, was training, and I was training every freaking day. After training at the gym, I was the first one, last one, kind of, story. I was the first one and the last one. I like to talk to. I think, hey, what's up, hey? Because it was like a family to me at the gym. But I really love training. So sometimes I even go home and hit the bag in the garage or in the backyard and do my running. I always ran at night, so I hated running in the morning. It's just the cars are coming out, like smog. I just didn't like it. I wanted to rest. I wanted to sleep. So I always ran like 11 at 12 midnight. My mom hated it because in Bellflower, we're not far from Paramount and Compton. And I ran far. So she's like, be careful, mijito, just be careful because, there's some people bad. I had people like throwing things at me, wanting to rob me or for nothing. I had nothing except my earphones. But yeah, it was crazy, but it was a good feeling to know that I put in the hard work. Thank God, it just paid off.
That's awesome. And we started off the conversation with you reaching the peak of the sport, which is winning the IBF title
Yeah.
and winning the adoration of the LA fans, the people in El Salvador. Take us back to where it all started. Right? When you're an LA boxer, walk us through how you got started in the sport.
I got started in the sport like around 5 years old, but but not not to actually do it, but to actually learn about it. Because my father would go at a young age. I'd be in the backseat of the Volkswagen, and he'd be like, "Okay, wait here," and he'd run across the street to the Olympic Auditorium, to the ticket. What do you call it? The ticket booth,
Yeah.
and grab the tickets, and go back and go home, and then we'll come back and then go to the fights later on that night. And I just remember watching the fights and going to Main Street Gym too to watch the fighters like Duran, Daniel Little Red Lopez. I remember that. Remember seeing those guys and be like, dang, now they're older and I'm older too, but it's just like I can't believe how far I've gone with the sport. I didn't do it yet. I just learned to respect it and like it and be a fan and love watching the fights. But to do it, I didn't really like it. It's like, oh man, it's all hard work. It's a lot of work, and I don't want to get punched, and I want to be a ladies' man or something. But there's a lot of gangs in back then with Paramount. I hung out a lot in Paramount and Bellflower and Long Beach, and and here, I come up to LA a lot, and so when my father saw that, we're hanging out too much in the street and all that, I was like, you know what? This was at 15 years old, and he grabbed me and two guys, and he was like, you guys go to the gym, and go check it out, go boxing, go do something. I don't want you guys to be in the street. So the kids didn't want to go. I didn't really want to, but I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's go. All right, we go in Fairmont, and that first day, dude, that first day they laced the gloves up, and all right, you guys are gonna spar. I'm like, all right, and I sparred the guy that one of my friends that went with us, and he's kind of like known to be the tough kid around, and I lit him up. And then they were like, dude, Carlos can fight. And then I felt like that's right. I felt good, it was like, all right. And I stuck to it, I stayed there and for a few months, maybe for less than a year, at Paramount Spain Park. And it was gang related right there, CBS, Eastside Paramount, there were all those journals around. So it was pretty bad in that area. They had drive-by shootings and all that. It was kind of crazy. So the park itself was kind of like a jail, because it had a fence around it, and all the Cholillos playing handball and all that. But so it was kind of hard to run around and train around there. So then my dad wanted me not to be around that, not to be around just kids as well in the gym. He wanted me to learn and get better. So he took me to a second gym. That's where Chavez would come to train when he'd come to LA. And all the big name fighters from like Mexico would come and train. Latinos from Puerto Rico, Colombia, they would be training there. So I started going there, and dude, it's 15, 16 years old. I'm sparring world champions, and I'm a freaking kid. I would go to high school, beat up, and people say, you got beat up. It's like, oh,
By a world champ.
yeah, I was training,
Yeah.
and sometimes I had like just like scratches from the glove or something like that, and it looked like hickeys. So girls be like, oh, this guy's got some girls. Like,
He's got game.
yeah, he's got game, I guess, yeah. But that was all from boxing. I would go home crying, like, damn, crying out of anger because I got hurt, my eyes closed, and my dad is like, didn't he? I hated my dad because like he kind of forced me to do it too, but he put like a lot of pressure on me. But like, why you get beat up? Why you getting beat up by guys? It's like these guys are world champs, and so, but he put a lot of pressure on me, and so after that, it's just like my father and I we came to a head at one time, and I told him, now get out. I don't need this from you. Don't give me too much pressure. And after that, my father understood. He stepped back and let me do what I wanted to do.
How old were you when that?
I was probably about 17 years old.
Okay, so you were already boxing for.
Yeah, I was already boxing. I was already doing amateur boxing, but always putting like, you must suck, because you got hit. If I'm wrong, So I mean, he did that trying, I guess, to motivate me, but it was the right motivation. Until, dude, I just we hit heads and bumped heads, and after that, my father understood. It's like, yeah, I better give him his I wouldn't say freedom, but like his space.
Yeah.
And from there on, I was able to grow, and I felt
Spread your wings.
yeah, spread my wings. Correct. That was a good thing. And my father passed about a year ago, but still, I felt the love, even though it was tough. It was different. We didn't get along during my teenage years, but it was good. He was a good father, and I think he tried it because he wasn't never taught. He was fatherless. I mean, he did have a father, but he didn't live with them, and so it was hard for my father, I think, to know how to raise kids. So anyway, but he tried his best, taking me to the gyms, taking me to the arenas, the Olympic Auditorium, and so that's how basically I learned boxing. And then when I did it as a teenager, as an older kid, it was something that I had to do.
It's really interesting that you mentioned this because we talked to some boxing referees, and one of the things that they tell us is we have to be conscious of when a dad is in their son's corner because the amount of pressure that a dad puts on their son, those kids will never quit. They'll never quit in front of their dad. And I think even myself as a parent, like having you say that resonated with me because I'm one of those dads in the sideline. My kids play sports, they play soccer and basketball, and maybe a little hard on them. So, thank you for sharing that. I think it's really important for the boxing community and just the sports community at large to know, like, there should be a balance, right? Support your kids,
Yeah,
but
be a balance.
No hard to push.
The good thing is, I know that my father didn't do it to put me down,
Yeah.
although that's what he did.
Yeah.
And it was just the only way he knew how, and he wasn't educated. I mean, no one's really educated to be a parent.
Yeah.
You just have kids, and you just gotta learn. But there's books, there's things now that weren't back then. And back then, his poor guy didn't have shoes till he was 14 years old. He didn't grow up with a mother. He grew up with his grandmother, and the grandmother had other kids to take care of. So it's almost like my father grew up alone. So I understand. I put myself in his shoes, in his footsteps, and it was a hard life. So I kind of like, and my father and I, we've had a really great relationship before he passed. So I mean, my father and I, he sees like my son and almost treats him like if it was his second chance to be a dad. So he was always like so sweet. I'm like, hey, why weren't you like that with me, when back in the day? But yeah, and my son and my father had a really good relationship. So that was pretty cool.
Thank you for sharing that. So you shared that at 15 you started taking the sport more seriously. At
Really at 16.
16?
Yeah, I was 16. I was able to more or less know. 15, I was just like, I didn't know if this is what I want to do, but at 16 years old, I knew this is what I was doing.
And at 17 you were sparring with the likes of Roger
Roger
Mayweather.
Mayweather, dude. I was sparring one kid, Meza, like around 16 years old, maybe 15 years old. But and I was part of all these like lightweight contenders, and I forgot their names, but they're from Mexico. They were Mexican national champions, and they wouldn't take it easy. They would go hard on me, and they knew I was a kid, and these guys are men. But then when I got better, dude, they couldn't spar me no more, bro. I was hurting them, and that made me feel so good and powerful. And every time I trained, I always had on my headgear. I would put a Salvador,
Yeah.
because I was so proud of being Salvadorian and fighting for that identity, that people should know that I'm Latino, but I'm not Mexican. There's nothing wrong with it, but
Yeah.
I'm Salvadorian, bro.
Yeah.
And so
That's awesome.
that's how it came. That I was more like a nationalist. You know, sounds probably kind of bad, but that's what I was. I was full Salvadorian, and that's why I fought for my blue and white colors.
And you're representing the flag.
Yeah, I was representing the love for my country.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You mentioned some pretty big names as that you had as sparring partners. What are some other names? You mentioned Chicanito earlier.
Oh, man, bro, I sparred like maybe 60 world champions in my life.
60?
Like probably like 60, maybe even more, or around 60. But dude, I mean, I sparred Fernando Vargas, Hoya, Mosley, Vernon Flores, Maromero Paez, Juan Meza, if I'm not mentioned them already. But there was Theo Colomé from Dominican Republic, Jose Rincones from Venezuela. There was another guy at that time. He was the hardest hitter. I think Julio Cesar Chavez didn't want to fight him at that time because this guy was badass. He was the Valero, Edwin Valero of that time from Venezuela. He was knocking everybody out, but then he loses. He was 21-0, 21 knockouts. Then he loses his fight against a black guy from Crawford, Jim. And my guy knocked him. Well, anyway, that guy I was his partner.
What was his name?
His name's Engels Pedroza.
Okay.
Engels Pedroza. Look him up. He was badass. That guy was kind of, he was like my first mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would beat my ass, but he would tell me, be strong, don't freaking be soft, and freaking you gotta learn. Don't just get beat up. Learn from it. And so that's what I took from him. And then later in life, Chicanito became my mentor. Chicanito was my mentor, and I was his chief sponsor. And when before he passed, like a month before he passed, he texted me saying, "Hey, Carlos, just wanted to say thank you for every." And I saved the text, but you change phones and all that, so I lost it. But he did mention about because of you, I've been champion for so many years. So thank you, thank you, man. Then a month later, he passed away.
Wow.
Yeah, that's an amazing story.
Yeah,
You must have really made an impression on.
Yeah, no, that was my boy. That was my dog. We were close, and we were really close, like swapping freaking sweat and blood.
Yeah.
So it was, and partying at the same time. We didn't drink, but we would eat. But he would be like making fun of me, like, dang, you're getting fat. Because he's skinny, and he didn't gain weight, but I could gain weight like that. So.
Like I mentioned before we started the interview, I grew up a block away from where Chicanito did Trinity Park basketball with his nephew.
That's why when you said that, I was like, Trinity Park, so familiar. Then you told me where it's at, I was like, yeah, bro, Chicanito.
Yeah. So like you, he's a local elite boxing legend.
Yeah.
And it's a great story how you described him as a mentor. You were one of his chief sparring partners, and eventually he gave you your first title shot, right?
Yeah.
At the historic
Grand Olympic, yeah, correct. And it was. I mean, the thought to fight Chicanito was great. To get my first world champion opportunity, was great. It was beautiful because he gave me that opportunity, but I felt I wasn't ready to fight Chicanito. I just felt like it wasn't the right moment. I didn't have that mindset of like, I don't care who it is. It just, I may have, but for that fight, I felt like there's something wrong here, and it was, I felt like he knew me too much that I couldn't. I had to fight the same fight. I could have fought a better fight, but at the end, I didn't. He beat me, but it was a good fight, I believe. Um, it was just I felt like I shouldn't have fought Chicanito. It was like it I should have fought somebody else. And there was other people that I could have fought, but I went straight for the main guy. And unfortunately it was against Chicanito. But he gave me my opportunity, thank God. It was a beautiful night of action for the fans. The fans loved it. It was a good fight, but that's what I take. I take more than anything the positive of him giving me the shot, me fighting with a legend, and it was good.
That fight took place at the legendary Olympic Auditorium.
Yeah.
We know there's been many great fights there. Do you have a specific memory of that place? Something that resonates with you?
I do. I believe when I was a little and I saw like the kind of like in cartoons maybe where the ring is way down there and it's like dang, I'm kind of high and but I think it was Bobby Chacon who I remember my father loved watch and he was a big fan and that guy was just an amazing fighter. I don't know if it was Mata Ramos or Bobby Chacon. I think it was probably Bobby Chacon.
Yeah.
Because I think this guy Armando Ramos was a little. I was too young.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, first crack of the title with your mentor, you felt you weren't quite ready against Chicanito. Second crack of the title, maybe a few people have heard of this name. Floyd Mayweather, TBE.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's in the argument for one of the greatest of all time. You were fighting in his hometown in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I think what a lot of people need to know is that you didn't fight Floyd Money Mayweather. You fought Pretty Boy Floyd right after he
destroys, obliterates Morales.
Tell us about that.
Bro, I mean that pumped me up.
Yeah.
So I was crazy and I was like, hell yeah, I'll fight the best.
Yeah.
And I felt okay, I messed up with Chicanito. I'm gonna take advantage of this. I'm gonna beat this guy. And I really believed it. Like, so a lot of people I don't know if you know that my ex-wife, she's back then she's a sports psychologist.
Yeah.
And so dude, she really worked really intense with me and it was great. My mindset was at the highest level. I just felt like I was not going to be um, denied or lose this fight. And at the end of the day, I lost the fight.
Yeah.
But dude, I won so
Yeah.
much. In my country, when I went back to El Salvador, it was like a parade. It was like, dude, they robaron esa pelea. Even with Chicanito, when I went back to El Salvador, the president gave me an award.
Wow.
And for the Mayweather, president gives me another award. I guess because they saw esa entrega that push me going forward, always looking for the fight, and never running, always going forward, and always representing El Salvador. So I think they saw that, and they're proud. They're proud that I was able to do that and have the courage to put my face out there because El Salvador boxing is not a big sport.
Yeah.
Like the ladies, they're oh my god, they're all pobrecito, they're gonna hurt them. And they even said, hey, are you okay? Because you don't speak pretty good. I'm like, bro, I don't speak good Spanish.
Yeah.
But no porque estoy golpeado. I thought, they're like, you sound like you're already hurt.
Yeah.
Like, Spanish is not my first language.
Yeah.
It's my second. I grew up with my parents, but they're always working. So I grew up outside.
A great stat from that fight against Pretty Boy Floyd is you're the only fighter on record to ever record a knockdown against them.
Yeah, it's a great feeling to have that. I mean, it wasn't like I knocked him down, but I'll take it. I got the knockdown. He went down, took a knee, and I hit him with the left hook. and I'll take it. You know, I'm the only one on record. I mean, I think Zach Judah should also get that, but he didn't. So that's good. But at the post press conference after the fight, he said, "Man, Carlos, hell of a fighter. Come here, champ." He was really cordial, very, very respectful, and he said, say a few words. And I was like, man, this guy's badass and really cool. And so I said a few words, and I said, you know what? I'm coming back. Maybe when we move up, I'll fight you again for a rematch. And he's like, no doubt, definitely, you need a rematch. I'm like, cool. Never got it. Never got it. We tried to get it. And then I go home after that, and then we hear Larry Merchant mention that he had his hands shot up with Novocaine, which is illegal in Nevada.
In the fight?
For the fight, like
okay.
a week before the fight.
Oh.
So we're like, dude, we're gonna contest this. We're gonna, get a for sure a rematch or whatever, or something overturned or what. And so at the end we fought in Michigan. And I forgot. I was like, yeah, we fought in Michigan, but it's illegal.
So technicality.
So yeah, technicality. So I was like, gosh, but they say, don't make a big deal of it. A year later, dude, that was jail.
That's awesome. And after you became champion, we've heard sometimes in boxing and in combat sports, you hear the term, you're not a champion until you defend the belt, right? There's a different defending the belt versus getting the belt. You defended the belt. You defended the belt in your hometown here in Staples Center against Steve Forbes, which was one of your best performances. How did that feel to come back home and defend your title?
It was great because I did feel the support there. I did feel a lot of love from my Salvadorians and Mexicanos. And plus I was fighting an African American. I guess there's a good rivalry there. So it was good. Although I my hats off to Steve Forbes, two-time world champion, I believe.
Yeah.
And great. He was a great fighter. He actually hurt me. That was probably the second time in my career I was hurt, and he buckled me in the fourth round. And all I remember is he threw an uppercut, and I went into this fight thinking, oh my god, I'm gonna just walk through this guy because he had like 7 or 10 knockouts. I felt like he had a low knockout stat. So I was like, I'm gonna take a shot, and I felt like I had a really good chin.
Yeah.
And so he caught me, and all I saw was white. Thank God I didn't go down, but it was a good punch. And but what kept me going was just just the thought of, dude, I gotta do this for my country. I got a lot of people from El Salvador here, and so thank God we were able to come out with a victory. I got headbutted right here. I think I had like 39 stitches. It was pretty deep. They had it sew inside and outside, and so it was. In fact, there's a picture that what's his name? I think his name's Chris Farina. He won Picture of the Year at the Boxing Writers of the Association of America, and it was that picture where I'm in the corner. What's his name? Miguel Diaz is right beside me, and I'm just sitting there with blood all over my body and my face, and I got Picture of the Year.
Wow.
And, but I won that fight, but it looks like, dude, maybe I lost or something, but I won that.
Do you feel like that quote that Carlos brought up holds true? Did you feel a little bit different after you won that fight, defending your title against?
Yeah, I felt like this is where I belong. This is now. Let's go for the big names. And right after that, I did get the biggest name out there.
Yeah.
At that time, which is Morales, Erik Morales.
Talk to us about that, because like most champions, you dare to be great and wanted to unify the division.
I remember people telling me, why do you take Morales, dude? Why don't you milk it? Get an easier fight, get paid. Like, bro, I want to fight the best. I want to fight the best. And it was a good payday. It was my highest payday, actually. and it wasn't just for the payday, but it was trying to be great. That was the main thing. Is trying to fight the best fighters. I wanted to fight Barrera and what's his name, Arturo Gatti. I wanted those guys. But Arturo Gatti started moving up. At that time, he was already moving up in weight, so I missed that one.
How was it being a boxing superstar in LA during the time that you had so many other superstars? Do you have maybe like a story? We hear a lot.
Well, I have these kind of stories.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's good for radio or for the podcast, but the thing is, girls would drop off their chonies or their business card. I was married, I was like, oh, shit. I didn't do anything, babe. I didn't do anything. She was like, But my wife, my ex-wife, she was a good person, man. She understood that was gonna happen. And some girls would say, "Can he sign my breast?" And she's like, "Yeah." So she was good. She was good with that.
We know a lot, like in LA, there's always like a lot of celebrities ringside and stuff like that. Did you ever hang out with anyone like that? You were like, wow, like I'm hanging out with this person. Like,
Not really. I was more of a family man.
Okay.
I just wanted to be home with Ron, my ex-wife. That was my life. My life was just go eat after the fight, and there was no party. I just wanted to go and just chill with my wife.
there's a funny story that I heard. Maybe you can tell us about it. That I think you were on the same card with Maromero Paez.
Yeah.
And after a weigh-in, you guys went to go eat, and I think he had like a little bit too much, and that kind of changed your perspective on.
Yes.
Maybe I should take it easy a little bit.
Bro, I mean, we fought at the Forum. He was the main event. I was the co-main event, and he we went to go eat together. As a team. I wasn't on his team, but we're all friends. And Maromero Paez was another guy that I really looked up to. I mean, he was a clown prince.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, this guy's badass. I loved him. I loved him when he fought against John Molina and this guy from Sacramento, Tony the Tiger Lopez. Those were big, beautiful fights for me that I would watch and study. And Maromero was great. And so anyway, we go to I don't know, it was like a Italian restaurant right across the street from the Forum or down the street from there. We go eat, and this guy starts digging out like the spaghettis and all that, and then he's drinking water. Next thing you know, he's like, he's kind of like quiet, and I'm just watching him, eating lightly, and he was like, he had to go throw up. He was not feeling good. He overate, because he did struggle to make the weight. But so when you do that, your stomach is very small.
Shrinks.
So yeah, it shrinks up. So when he filled that food, all that pasta, and it was too much for his body, that he had to throw up, and he just didn't feel good. I don't know if he won that fight, if I recall, but I want to say he lost, and I want to say he lost because that was probably one of the reasons why he didn't have that energy. He just felt bloated. He was like slow. I think he did lose that fight.
So you talked to us about your amazing career. Obviously, you reached the pinnacle in sport. You gained the title. You defended your title. You sought out a unification. It's something that a lot of fighters don't. We don't hear a lot of fighters talk about this. But how do you start processing? Look, eventually this is going to come to an end. How do you process knowing that boxing doesn't last forever? Talk to us about that.
Right, yeah, I mean, I felt good at 36, 37 years old. But then when I fought, I think I was 36 years old, 35, 36 years old, when I had two big losses back to back in 2005, I believe it was, or 2006. And it was against Pacquiao.
Yeah.
And it was against Jesus Chavez.
Yeah.
And so those were big names, but I thought for sure I won against Pacquiao, Manny Pacquiao's brother,
Bobby.
Bobby Pacquiao, and I believe I won that fight. It was on Ring Magazine as Robbery of the Year.
Yeah.
So I felt they took it away from me now, but I understand it's a business now. But back then I was so I felt like the company let me down, like they weren't watching my back. So whatever. But I'm not gonna cry about it, right? Well, I did, but
Yeah.
anyway, I wasn't gonna complain about it. And so I moved on and worked out hard again, and I finally was Chavez here in Staples Center. And and again, close fight. Um, I think it could have been a draw at least. He touched the canvas with his glove in the last round. They didn't call it. I just felt like it wasn't for me. Uh, and so I kind of felt like that was really like my last fight, even though I kept fighting, but that was like my last fight because I just felt so disgusted with the politics of boxing. I just didn't want to do this anymore. I felt like, now my body's starting to hurt really. I felt like, it's not fun anymore. It wasn't like I was struggling. I had a home now and have a few homes, had a beautiful wife, and now I had two kids. Well, my daughter was born in, but my wife was pregnant at that time, and I already had a kid. So I was just more I just felt like I wanted to be more of a family man now. I just don't want to do this. I don't want my kids seeing me all beat up or anything and not being able to communicate with them. I don't want to be fed through a straw.
Yeah.
You know?
Thank you for sharing that because we understand that that's a very intimate process for a fighter, especially somebody that's dedicated their life to the sport. I have a quote here that I want to read. It's your thoughts on retirement. My time in this career, if I'm going to get knocked down back to back, it's time to call it a career. I don't want to get hurt in this business. I have beautiful children. I feel bad that I couldn't win, but I think that everyone who saw me knows I won't get knocked out or I won't go down. I'll keep coming. I'm relentless. I'll persevere. That's my motto. Perseverance pays off. I think I'll just persevere in another career. I don't know what that may be, but I'm going to keep succeeding in life. So obviously you're a champion in the ring. Speaking with you, it's obvious that you strive for greatness in all aspects of your life, whether it's being a father. But I want to ask, what are you doing now? What's keeping you busy?
Well, now, great question, man. Thank you. I've always tried to be kind of moving around doing things, because I don't want to just, all right, well, what do I do now? Just hang around the gyms and all that. So I did open a couple of gyms in San Antonio. Unfortunately, the gym that I had with my nice big gym that I had CrossFit there. I had an indoor soccer. I was leasing under another gym that was bigger, but they gave me the freedom of having everything. So they actually went under, and so I had to get out. So I had to get under. I had to close the gym. Then I had another gym and partnered up with another guy, but there, he had the jujitsu and I had the boxing, but I guess he it just didn't work out. He was kind of like in the area, and I didn't know San Antonio that well yet. So the 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 admission that I was charging, or the fee that I was charging, I think it was just a little bit too much for the surrounding areas, and so it was just it was just bad luck for me. Bad luck that people weren't coming to the gym, and it was in pretty cool places. I thought like you could see it, and it was marketable. It was there for the people, but they just couldn't take advantage of it. It was, I guess, too expensive for them. Too expensive for the people. But I had a lease. I have to charge this, but at the end, I had to close that down for that reason. So after that, I became a promoter as well. So I was promoting in El Salvador and in San Antonio, and I never lost there. I never lost money. I either broke even, and when I broke even, I probably was ahead about maybe a couple $1,000. So, but to me, that's like breaking even. And then the other shows, I made money. So it was a good business, but it is a lot of hard work. Yeah, it's it's just a lot of headaches as well with a lot of fighters, you know. And I know I was a fighter, but now I'm doing this as a businessman. So it's kind of hard for me to give a guy, because I'm gonna give you an example. I offered a guy for 6 rounds. I offered him $1,200. Okay, it's probably nothing, but I told him, bro, I'm gonna get you the right opponent. You're coming back. He's an older guy in his 30s, and you know, this is how much I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you $1,200, but he wanted like 3,500, and I was like, bro, I can't pay you that. Plus, you're not, you know, you're not really marketable here. I need to build you up, and so things like that. Then at the end, he's like, you know what, I just won't fight. Like, all right, cool, that's business. But that's what happens. It's a business thing. It's not because some promoters don't want to pay you. It's just I have to know that my product is going to sell tickets, and if not, dude, then I'm going to lose money. So, and I'm a small promoter. I'm not like a bigger promoter like Top Rank, Golden Boy, or anything like that. I'm just struggling promoter. Trying to make legends from San Antonio, but at the same time, I'm trying to make a living as well. Of course. So then I felt like it became stagnant there for me in San Antonio. Salvador is kind of different. The thing is I don't live there, so it's kind of hard for me to do business from here in El Salvador and all that. So there, it's kind of hard to trust people with your money. Sure. And next thing you know, it's like, where's the money? Where's everybody? It's like, oh, well, we had to pay this. We had to, where are the receipts? Oh, never receipts. So I just, if I got to do it, I have to live here to do it, because it's everyone has sticky fingers. So
Makes sense.
yeah. But so now after just trying different things, I buddy of mine, he was actually my client, one of my clients at the gym. He's like, hey Carlos, he was a home sale for a new homes, new home sellers. I forgot which company, but he said, hey, why don't you get into this with me? People love you and all that, and people know who you are. It's like, you know what? That's not for me. I mean, I was already an investor. I already invested in real estate and all that. So, and then he said, why don't you get behind it? Behind the just investing. Why don't you become a real estate agent? So, you know what? I don't know. This is probably not my thing. And so a year went, and I kept going to his like open houses and all that. I was like, you know what? I kind of do like this. There's a lot of looking now. I'm divorced now. So I was like, dude, there's a lot of hot chicks in real estate. So you know what? I may, and that's always like a plus that motivates a man. And so I was like, you know what? All right. So I, went to school, and thank God, got formed my company, which is Famoso Realty, and partnered up with a broker, and now Famoso Realty is born, and this was last year, and so thank God, right now we're doing pretty good, and it's just like right now when I go back, I have somebody to sell a house for, and another one that I'm gonna list their home, so.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
That's awesome. So for all of our listeners and all of our viewers, we know a lot of people from California end up moving to Texas. It's very popular. If you're tired of those hurricanes and earthquakes in the same day and want to move to Texas, please reach out to Famoso Realty.
Famoso Realty. Now the thing is, too, I even sold a home to a guy that works for, I'm not going to say his name, but actually he works for Fox Sports. Yeah. And he's like, I'm tired of California prices. Yeah. Sell me a home. Yeah. And I found him a perfect home. It's right in the middle of San Antonio and Austin. Yeah. So he's closer actually to Austin. But that home that he bought, bro, here is like, it would be like a multi-million-dollar home. Wow. And over there it's not even, it's like a quarter of what it would be here.
So where can our listeners find you? Obviously, you have Famoso Realty, but do you have any social media?
Yeah, well, I have Famoso Realty .com. They can look me up there. But also in my my Instagram, it's Famoso Realty. Famoso Realty, basically, yeah, on Instagram
Okay.
and on YouTube as well. Carlos Famoso Hernandez. And so that's how people know me, is Carlos Famoso. They don't know Famoso Realty, so I try to combine everything, because when I try to separate, nobody follows this one. So when I put it on Carlos Famoso, yeah, people always look at that one. So I always have to
Okay.
put it on Carlos Famoso Hernandez.
Awesome. So we were really excited when you agreed to join us on the podcast, and we told our friends and families, and like yourself, we're LA natives, and so you can imagine there was a lot of buzz and a lot of excitement. So uh, we did some fan questions.
Oh, perfect. That's awesome, dude. Yeah, nice.
So the first one, I'll start off with an easy one.
Okay.
And we're gonna end with the hardest one, and you'll see why.
All right.
It's gonna make you think. But the first one is 2023 has been a wonderful year for boxing. There's been a lot of great fights, big events. What fight, if any, has been your favorite this year?
Wow. The good fight that was probably one of the last ones was Navarrete and Valdez. That was actually my weight division, and these guys just basically let it on the line. I mean, they really gave their hearts out. Even though I feel like Valdez lacks a little bit of something that he needs to work on to adapt to a fighter like that. I feel like he's trying to fight too much like Canelo. He's not a Canelo fighter. I think he needs to adapt and throw a little bit more shorter punches, shorter combinations, faster combinations. I think he leaves himself open too much. But his heart to have his eye fully closed, and but he's proven that before with the broken jaw.
Yeah.
The guy has the biggest heart in boxing, and I really wanted him to win, but I felt Navarrete was gonna beat him, and Navarrete just a guy who's awkward, who throws a lot of weird punches, but he gets the job done. And I think when they met, I believe it was just a really good combination of fireworks.
Yeah.
And I think the fans, more than anything, won in that fight. I mean, that was like I don't know. I think it was the fight of the year. It probably won't be because of like bigger names like Joante Davis and this guy
Garcia.
Andy Garcia, or what's his name?
Ryan.
Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia. But Ryan Garcia's he was one of my top fighters. I love that guy. I love how he fights. He does leave himself open. He did let me down with going down with the body shot, which the Mexican guys, they're the ones that throw the body shots. So it was kind of like, oh man, but I like Ryan. I still think he has a lot of future. He has a big punch, but again, I go back to the Navarrete and Valdez. What a fight!
That was a great fight. We were really excited. We actually covered that fight. We did a breakdown, and
What you guys think about it?
it was a great fight. I mean, I picked wrong. I also picked Valdez to win. I thought he was going to edge out a decision, but I and I say this with the utmost respect, but Navarrete strikes me as he has a weird body type.
Yeah,
He's like a Frankenstein had a baby with Gumby.
Yeah.
Like he's just so long.
You
His punches.
You know which fighter he reminds me of? I don't know if you remember him. Manuel Mantecas Medina.
Yeah. Yep.
That guy, 5-time world champion. But he was so awkward.
Yeah.
He was just like thrown from different angles, and yeah, he was like a Gumby guy.
And those are the most difficult guys to
Yeah.
prepare for, right? Because good luck finding a sparring partner that can
Yeah.
mimic that.
I guess the best spar partner would have to be the bag,
Yeah.
because you would just have to put in that pressure.
Like some pool noodles on there.
That would be good. Yeah, definitely. That's a good way. That's good. Yeah, because it's come from all over, and it has, I guess, a little bit of pop, because it could be from way up here, and he'll still catch you, and it has a little bit of kind of like
a lot of torque.
Yeah, that's a lot of torque. So I mean, it's gonna probably affect you down the line.
Yeah.
So for the next fan question, we're asking you to put on your promoter hat again. 2023, with the current state of boxing, the current names of boxing, what would be your dream fight? Who would you match up to make the biggest match in boxing?
Oh, you know what? If I had my promoter's hat and I was able to promote Javante Davis and Crawford,
Gervonta Davis and Crawford?
yeah, I would love to see that fight.
Yeah.
It's a good mix of styles.
Yeah. To me, that 47.
Yeah.
I mean, he fought at 47 already, right?
Yeah.
Javante,
Maybe 40.
I think they fought at 40.
40
but
with Vargas.
maybe a catch weight.
No, but didn't he find Mario Barrios at
I
147?
think that was 40.
It was
Oh,
at
40?
40.
Okay. Well,
So
yeah,
catch
that
weight
was
is
a
good.
catch weight.
Yeah.
Catch weight. 144 or something like that. I would love to see those brothers go at it.
Yeah, Davis already said, he kind of made a comment, and now Crawford made a comment about Canelo.
I know. That's another one. That's another good one too.
Yeah.
I think Canelo will destroy him.
Yeah.
I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
But Canelo, I don't know how we would feel if he'd feel drained,
Yeah.
if he had to come down. But I think, if they fight, if he goes up, I think Canelo will destroy him.
Yeah, well, I don't think Canelo's at a point in his career, he's the clear ace that he's not going to go down. So it would have to be at 60.
Yeah, definitely. So there, I would obviously give Canelo the win. But yeah, Javante Davis and this guy, Crawford, bro. Crawford are bad. I knew he was gonna destroy. Well, I'm in Texas, so everybody was going for Spence. So I was like, I'm going with Crawford. Oh man, get out of the house. So I was like, oh, I'm sorry, man. That's who I think is gonna win. And yeah, he took it to him, man.
Amazing performance.
Yeah, I mean, in the second round, how he just dropped him with the jab, wasn't it? And,
it was a jab. He's ambidextrous, so he
Yeah.
has power and
Yeah, he has-
so yeah, it looked like a
yeah.
jab, but
dude,
it was like a shotgun jab, if anything.
you don't, you don't see many fighters like that. I think we have somebody special in the game right now. I think he has the opportunity to destroy Mayweather's record.
Yeah, it's possible. I'm not sure he's gonna fight that long because
I mean, he's
already-
40 to go.
Yeah,
He's
So-
35.
Yeah,
So he's
he is
towards
35. Yeah.
and I think he's going to be 36 pretty soon.
But-
he's like,
But he seems like he takes care of himself.
Yeah.
So he doesn't seem like he's always partying or
wasn't
whatever.
drained.
Yeah. So I mean, I would love to see him come close to that.
and even if he doesn't get to the say 50 or 51-0, right? There's a different way where maybe he can get that notoriety because he's already the first person to be undisputed into weight classes.
Yeah. Wasn't it anyway?
You know what?
I mean, he's on the way.
He's on the way to do it.
Oh, okay.
So if he does it, he's saying he wants to do it in the third weight class.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't necessarily have to get to 50-0, but if you're undisputed in 3 weight classes, come on.
And that's another fight. Inoue versus Javante Davis.
Yeah,
I would like that too.
That's a great
I'd
fight.
like to see that, man. Dude, Inoue, man, he's badass. I love that guy.
Yeah. He's definitely a generational talent.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for my generation, he wasn't around, but for this generation, man, he's top dog. To me, he was like number one. This Crawford to me is number two. Javante Davis number three.
So that comment leads us into our next fan question. It sounds like you listed your top 3 current pound for pound guys or your favorite fighters. Who are your top 3 pound for pound or favorite all time fighters?
I obviously Durant was my favorite. I was a big fan of his when I was a little kid. Just his demeanor, his outside of boxing, his machismo.
The mean dude.
That mean dude, I love that. And my dad loved that. So my dad reminded me of like Durant. It was like just mean. And so I grew up loving that. And then the way he fought and talk to you after, like when he fought Marvin Hagler, he's still talking to me. He's still like, come on, and it just, dude, that was so macho of him. So hombre, and that's the kind of life I kind of grew up with. You know, it's like my father was like that, and so it reminded me of my father. I also obviously like Sugar Ray Robinson. Sugar Ray Robinson, my guy could have been champion. I think in any era, that guy was just amazing. Just this, and he seemed like a really genuinely great person. You know, just from the films, and he just seemed like a really nice guy, and to fight so many fights, and how he fought, I think, in the hardest times, during the hardest times of boxing, and he was able to overcome all these the what would you say, like that time, that period when, you know,
He was at a
black man.
disadvantage.
Well, I mean, yeah, because he was black, racism and all that. So I think, you know, he did a lot for the other black people, for them to be like Muhammad Ali and Mayweather even, because I mean he was the guy who paved the way. I think I like him, and I like Henry Armstrong.
Yeah.
Henry Armstrong, you know, another guy who was champion in 3 different weight divisions at the same time. Bro,
You're taking it back.
When they only had a few weight divisions.
yeah, when it was exactly.
Yeah.
So that guy, I think, you know, it's like nobody could break that record now. I don't think.
Yeah.
But you know, he's just another guy who was and these guys are black people. You know, I could be looking at Chavez. Chavez obviously is one of my favorites, but not my top three. You know, those guys will for me always be like the father of boxing. You know, I also like Jack Johnson. You know, I'm a big Jack Johnson fan. His story, that's what I think really I resonate to a lot more is how he would get a white woman, you know, when, you know, it was freaking illegal.
Yeah.
Is he the one that was speeding and got a ticket and paid twice? So he told the cop, "All right, this is for when you catch me going the other way."
Oh,
Is
yeah,
that-
well,
is that- is that him?
remember
I think
that.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really can't tell you. I did hear that, but I don't know who it was from. But he was just a guy who was a mean from Galveston, Texas.
Yeah.
Just a mean brother. Just a mean during the time when it was hard, and it's probably more political. That's why I think a lot of people think Muhammad Ali is the greatest. I don't think so, but I mean, it was during the time when, you know, it's more political and more outside of boxing. Even boxing though, he did great. I mean, the first three-time champion of the world, but it's just not for he's not my favorite though.
You brought up a great point that, you know, you're Salvadorian and your top three fighters, or it sounds like your top four aren't other Latino fighters. They're African American fighters.
Except for Durant.
Oh, sorry. But boxing just has a way to transcend things like ethnicity or race.
Absolutely.
You know, and it reminds me of what Mike Tyson said about Durant. Have you ever heard his comments on that?
Well, I mean, I've heard him, you know, always love that he's that mean guy.
For the same reasons that you
Same
mentioned,
reason,
yeah.
And so that's why I was in love with Tyson, because that's the kind of mentality I had. It was like kill or be killed, you know, that kind of. It wasn't about like, you know what, I'm gonna use my jab and, you know, he'd be technical. I think De La Hoya is more like that. I think he
More textbook.
more textbook. Yeah, correct. I was more like Marvin Hagler. You know, this is World War III. You know, I wanted to make it uncomfortable for you. I didn't want to use my jab and say, okay, I'm gonna use my jab, and I was, but obviously I would think that now when I have my wife and all that, and she's telling me to go through visualization to see it, visualize it, and see me throwing the right hand over his jab and coming back to the left hook right hand and body shot at the end. You know, going through the steps, going through the motions. But what I wanted was just to get my head into your chest and go at it, make it so uncomfortable for you. That's what I would do. I would throw everything out and say, you know what? It wasn't about technique. It was about more of a fight.
Attrition.
Yeah, Trish. Correct. Trish.
It's amazing that you mentioned that, because within the US, the two biggest fan bases and the two cultures that really help drive the sport are the Latino, a lot of the Mexican culture, the Latino culture, and also the Black culture. And I know that being in LA, you have that unique experience of spending time in gyms like La Azteca and also going to 108th and Broadway. So you saw both sides of it, and it sounds like you were inspired by both.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like my father saw that I got too stagnant at Azteca, and he was like, "Bro, but you're too slow." He would always give me pointers. Now that he knew we had an understanding, but he was telling me, you know what? Because he was a big part of me being a boxer, and so my dad said, you know what? I feel you're getting hit a lot, or you're not moving as much. You're slow. You don't throw many combinations. Go to the black gym. Go to the black gym. So he took me to 108th and Broadway, and I was like, dude, I trained over there with the brothers, and at that time I was probably the only Latino there, bro. I didn't see any Latino. Then later I started seeing like 2 or 3 coming in, but it was just puro. Then a few years back, like probably 3 years ago, I maybe it was before the pandemic. I brought my son. I took him to 108th and Broadway when it was still there, and it was all Mexican. Oh my God, where's the black people?
Yeah.
The blacks.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, people, this changed.
Yeah,
It's
it
It's
definitely
crazy.
changes. Now, for our last fan question, and this is the hard one, but also it's kind of interesting that they asked this because we are talking to the first and only Salvadorian champion, but you're from LA, so I can see why they asked this question. So, pupusa or tacos?
Pupusas,
Of
bro.
course, come on.
Yeah. I mean, I love tacos, but
Yeah.
come on, I'm a pupusa guy.
Yeah, okay.
So
Now, follow-up question to
with
that.
Morocco.
Okay, follow-up question to that. Have you heard of the Putaco?
Yeah, I have.
You have?
I can't wait to try it. In
Yeah.
fact, I have to try it before I leave because I know where they have it.
Okay.
So I want to go there and try it.
And what would be the pupusa of what and the meat, the taco meat? What was that
Well,
combination?
Well, I like carne asada.
Okay.
I love that. I just went to a taco place over here in South Central, bro. Oh man, I had 8 tacos.
Yeah.
Which place?
I don't know, man. My cousin took me, but we were kind of we
Yeah.
had a good time.
Okay.
It was at the comedy club,
Yeah.
and we just went to go.
Gotcha.
It was a lot of fun. But yeah, it was carne asada. I love carne asada. And for pupusas, my favorite, and I just don't change it. That's it. My kids love it. That's what they eat as well. Is queso con noroco.
Okay.
Noroco is like a plant or a flower, and it's an acquired taste. It's like some people don't like it, so I mean I love it. It's what the Indians used to eat, so shit, man, I want to eat that too.
Yeah.
It's good, and it's good.
So I'm glad you're back in LA and you can try that. For those that don't know, a taco is essentially a pupusa. The pupusa is used as a tortilla, and then you put the meat, and you use that. It's basically a combination of a pupusa and a taco.
Yeah, I can't wait to try that.
I can't find that in Texas.
No, probably not. I don't think so. But I have to tell you, I was in New York last week, and they had pupusas with squash.
Yeah.
They had it's like they're innovators now. They're trying new things with birria.
Oh wow.
Yeah, pupusas with birria. And I was like, all right, okay. I mean, I'm happy with that it's evolving because the old school people are like, oh, esas cosas, nah, eso está inventado, eso es algo nuevo, eso es de los americanos.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, but it got to evolve. It's good. It's good that it's growing, and I love that. I tried pupusa cactus
Oh wow.
this was in McAllen, Texas.
Okay.
And so I had this girlfriend that I was dating. She took me to a pupusa place, and I was like, all right, let's go eat pupusas here in McAllen, Texas. And it's in border town. And it was so good. I was like, wow, I will definitely come back. I never did, but it is really good. That was the only time I eaten a pupusa with cactus. It was really good.
It's crazy, seeing that the pupusa, being from LA, right, we're familiar with the pupusa, but it's the popularity of it. I saw a video the other day where Leo DiCaprio said that basically it's one of his favorite foods.
Yeah, so
I remember going to like restaurants, Salvadorian restaurants as a kid, and I would always see like your picture. You were there with like Mauricio Sanfuegos.
yeah, that's
There's
cool,
like
right?
a picture of a volcano for some reason.
Yeah. Well, we're proud of our volcanoes, man. It's so beautiful, and how they look, like a real volcano. They're like, wow, okay, they're like what 40 or 70 years old in the country. So it's they're something to talk about. But more definitely, man. I mean, I have I have a lot of Mexican influence in my family because of my ex-wife and my. There's a new generation, man. There's another generation of Salvadorian Mexican kids. My cousins, their kids are Mexican and Salvadorian kids. So there's a new generation that I didn't have before when I was growing up. It was just Salvadorians or Guatemalans or Hondureños, Nicaraguenses, Mexicans.
Yeah.
But there wasn't like a mix. Now 20 years later, there's Salvador Mexican kids, and it's good to see that, and it's good that they're combining the best thing that they could, which is food, into one, like a Putaco. Wow, I mean, I haven't tried it yet, but I can't wait to, and I want to record it, so I'll let people know.
Absolutely.
That sounds good. In fact, I want to probably go now, but
Yeah.
I probably won't be able to. But yeah, I will go before I leave to get a Putaco. Have you tried it?
I haven't yet.
No,
I haven't
try it
yet.
now.
We should try it soon. Yeah.
Yeah, they
In
look
fact,
good.
I think it's at the Urban Eatery
Oh, really?
downtown. I think they have that there. So they're like innovators there. They're always building. They have the Pupusa wall.
Yeah.
And I tried that. I was like, you know what? That is cool. I want to try that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what this what your buddy brought from Porto.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are delicious. So it's something like that, but it's pupusa.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I like it. Awesome. I'm proud to see our people, just creating new things and evolving. That's how it has to be, especially in a country so diverse or a city so diverse like it is LA. And I'm glad the Salvadorians are making a mark.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's awesome, man. By the way, my two sons are Mexican, Salvadorian, and Guatemalan, so I know exactly what you're
That's
talking
fantastic.
about.
That's so cool, man. All right. Now, do you guys go to Guatemala too?
No, we haven't been.
No,
We haven't. I've been there.
Let me tell you, it's a beautiful freaking country. Beautiful. I mean, I love El Salvador, but Guatemala, my God, it's beautiful.
My suegra just got back a couple of weeks ago, and she showed us some pictures and videos. It looks awesome.
Yeah,
It looks amazing. So yeah, definitely on the bucket list. I my fiance has been asking me to take a trip with her down there, and up until I saw these pictures, it didn't really strike me as somewhere I wanted to go. But
really,
seeing the pictures firsthand, and how much fun they had, it just seems like
it's a hit or miss. It could be a hit or miss because just to give you a quick example, I remember some kids of a family member. They went to El Salvador, and they were like, they're so Americanized now. There's like, oh my God, it's too dirty here, it's too poor. So it kind of like, I guess they're not like prepared mentally of what they're gonna see or
culture shock.
yeah, it's a culture shock, correct? So I mean, I guess you have to prepare their minds. They're the kids though. They're gonna tell the truth, and it is good. But you have to as well. I think, like I took my kids, and that's just. But I just took my kids when they were young to an orphanage and to play with the kids. And these kids don't have families. They don't have parents, but play with them, and give them presents or something. Well, we wouldn't really is give like money, but we would buy, in El Salvador, we would buy backpacks, notepads, pencils, because we wanted them to have something useful instead of who knows where the money's going to go.
That's beautiful.
So it was good, and I wanted my son to be a part of that, to give these kids that, and to play with them, and be understanding of how you live and how these other kids live, because look at the kids, they live. Some kids live dirt floors, and so you live in a nice place, so I want my kids to know that, so they're not mamones, nigga.
It's amazing that you shared that experience with your kids. You talked when we read the quote of your retirement. One of the things that you mentioned was your children, and telling us that this story shows us that you have become a champion not just in the ring, but you're a champion at life. You started your real estate company. You talked a few minutes ago of Salvadorians leaving a mark. You have left an amazing legacy, an amazing mark in the city of LA, in the boxing world, and an entire country of El Salvador. So with that, we want to thank you for your time. It's been an amazing privilege having you on the podcast, and maybe we can just go have a putaco and we can have a video.
That'd be cool. Yeah,
That'd be
definitely,
awesome.
definitely, man. We gotta take pictures and post it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we gotta do that. Let's do that.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
like Carlos said, thank you so much for coming out. It's an honor to sit with
Thank you.
an LA boxing legend. You brought your hardware with you. That's amazing. And to all our listeners, if you're looking to move to Texas, El Famoso
Give me a
Realty.
call. Famoso Realty. FamosoRealty.com.
To all our listeners and viewers, this has been another installment of Corner to Corner Boxing, where we cover all angles of the sweet science. Thank you for listening.